think hopefully everyone can see and hear me. Sorry for cutting everyone off in the beginning. I wasn't aware that. Oh, here we go. Are we working? Are we functional? Potentially. Okay, so I'm going to. Hi everyone. I'm just working through some technical issues at the minute. Um, Hang on. Do you know what? I'm just going to keep going. Gemma has very kindly, hello everybody. Gemma's very kindly sent me where you can put my face on the screen at the same time. She sent me a message there, but I'm just going to crack on, work through the technical issues. Again, thanks to Ruby for inviting me to this conference and letting me speak, and to all the other amazing speakers, to Millie, Renee, and Sparky. Sparky, thank you very much for that introduction. And thank them for having really, really good talks. And hopefully this will be interesting to you guys. It's a topic quite close to my heart, and hopefully you can gain some information from it, whether you are a dog owner or whether you are a dog trainer or dog advocate. Hey Jacqueline and hey Tracy, really good to have everyone involved, and hopefully you enjoyed the talk. So as it's just turned 1, I'm going to run through the slides and then I'll look back at the comments at the end for any questions and stuff that you have, just because there's quite a lot of content to kind of get through. But don't be afraid to ask questions, ask them all, and if I can't get through them all through the talk, I will, private message me afterwards and we can get through it then. And yeah, I'm going to see if we can get comments up at the same time. But anyway, we'll start this anyway. So hi everyone, I am Lucia and I'm going to talk you through lockdown pups, which for me, I feel are the kind of forgotten victims of COVID-19. So it's going to be kind of a crash course on everything puppy, and everything kind of that. I work in rescue, so I'm seeing like an influx in puppies given up for various reasons. Owners not knowing the responsibility of pups and giving them up for various reasons. So we're going to talk contents. This is just we're going to talk a little bit about me, responsible ownership, preventing common issues that dogs end up in rescue with, key behaviors to teach a pup, in my opinion, appropriate socialization, and puppy stages of development, including puppy biting and adolescence. So an intro to me. I've wanted to do veterinary originally, but didn't get into it, which is fine. Everything happens for a reason. So I did biochemistry, then didn't want to do biochemistry in the end, didn't want to work in a lab. Took a year out to Australia, did some work, volunteer work with the Animal Welfare League, Currumbin Welfare Hospital, did animal behaviour and welfare in uni, volunteered in rescues on and off in Ireland, and now I work full time in a large rescue in the UK as a behaviourist and training advisor. And I've done studying with various different institutes, the Institute of Modern Dog Trainers, School of Canine Science, Dog Training College, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm a full and proud member of the Pet Professional Guild and the owner of Doherty Dog Training. So yeah, just very crash course on me. And we'll move on to responsible ownership. And I think a lot of responsible ownership is takes on before you actually get your puppy. So this is, more tailored towards owners and dog owners before you get your dog. Very important one. Are you allowed dogs where you actually live? If you live in rented accommodation, does your landlord allow you to have a dog on the property? Do you have space for your dog? So depending on the breed, do you have space for them to grow, exercise, and train? Do you have time? This is a huge one, and I think people underestimate the amount of time that raising a well-rounded dog takes. And I've seen, dogs at 5-6 months coming in, like kind of last November-ish time to rescue, where their owner was going back to the office and they didn't have time for the pup anymore. You need to think about, can you look after this dog for the entirety of their life? when things go back to normal. Like, as I think it's Dogs Trust have the slogan now that pups aren't just for lockdown. You need to be prepared for training, exercise, mental stimulation, and socialization of the pup for their entire life. And once things go back to normal and you go back to the office, are you going to send your dog to daycare? Do you have someone to look after your dog when you're at work? Um, are you going to get a dog walker? Them kind of things. Can you afford them? So people always think, oh, it's expensive to get a dog, but it's also expensive to keep a dog, particularly with vet bills. I've just put the consult price here. However, I want to talk about kind of breed specific things. So particular dogs, say like brachycephalic breeds like your pugs, Frenchies, Shih Tzus, can require corrective surgery to help them breathe, which can cost 3 to 4 grand. Two of my friends have just had their dogs got their dogs hip replacements for German Shepherds, and that's costing them up in 7 grand. So be aware that certain breeds are susceptible to certain medical issues, and be prepared for that and get good pet insurance from the beginning. Food's a big one, especially depending on the size of your dog. Think about how much dog food you're going to use and the quality of dog food. And I can't preach about this enough. It's a completely huge topic, and I'm not going to go into it altogether. But this website is really, really handy. You can type in the type of dog you have, the size of your dog, the age of your dog, and the amount that you want to spend. So your budget on dog food, and it'll give you a quality rating of the dog food, of each dog food, and you'll be able to get the best quality. So food's really, really important, because it can impact behaviorally, depending on the additives and preservatives. They can act kind of like numbers in children and make them really hyper, and it's not really great for them. It also medically, if there's chemical additives and preservatives, the way that the food is prepared, all that good stuff's been taken out. All the natural goodness has been taken out, and they have to put a chemical compound in there, which is obviously not good for dogs and can lead to certain cancers and stuff as well. Avoid brightly coloured food. Dogs won't see that. That's purely for us. And it's not great for our dogs to add colour and stuff into their food. Avoid stuff, and you make sure that the main ingredient is protein and not just mixed animal derivatives. Excuse me. Make sure it's good quality. So make sure it's like lamb or duck or whatever. Make sure that they say what animal is in it. You'll know that is a sign of good quality. Grooming as well. Equipment. Sorry, I'll go with equipment first. Harnesses, dog beds, toys. Dogs like to destroy things, so can you afford all the different equipment for them? Grooming, particularly with your longer haired breeds and your poodle crosses and your lassos and stuff, you're going to have to be either equipped to groom them yourself, and spend time doing that yourself, or be prepared for grooming quite regularly, because dogs can get mats really, really quickly, and it can be really, really uncomfortable for them. And also training. People spend a lot of money on dogs and they don't understand the importance of investing in good training. And also for trainers, I think it's really important for responsible ownership that we offer kind of pre-consult courses, or like little like crash courses on responsible ownership, and like give them, some people get really sorry, this is just talking to itself. People don't know what to expect from puppies, so we need to be the experts and help people figure out what's best for their family, and even what dog breeds is best for their family. So I think it's really important as dog trainers to provide that kind of service, and as dog advocates, give that kind of info before people get dogs, and set them up for success. Responsible ownership again, where you get your puppy from, that is a massive, massive thing. And Millie talked a lot about rescues, so I'm not going to go into that. That's all kind of been covered. But it is something very, very close to my heart, obviously, because I've worked in rescue and I see what happens and how dogs react in rescue. Go to rescue first. There are so many rescues out there. This is only a handful of ones that I found, including mixed breeds ones, and we're starting to see designer breed ones like your cockapoo rescues and stuff. So if you're looking for a specific breed, check rescues and be patient with them. Especially with puppies, there is a bit of a waiting list. People want puppies for families and stuff. Check out local rescues. In 2011, 11,000 dogs were put to sleep because they couldn't find owners for it. They couldn't find homes for them. So, there's a lot of dogs that have ended up in rescue for no reason other than, no fault of their own kind of thing. Check breed rescues as well if you're looking for a specific breed. And I know on the other side of the coin, rescue isn't for everyone. It can be really difficult for people to get dogs from rescues, and people have come to me personally and been like, oh, it's really hard to get a dog from rescue because you have to meet X, Y, and Z criteria, but we're trying to find the best home for that dog. And we're trying to, give them the best chance of having the best life and not ending up back in rescue. Research your desired breed. I can't stress this enough. A lot of people get dogs simply for the look of them and how cute they are and how fluffy they are, but research your desired breed. Research what their temperament's going to be like, so what their general behavior is like. Research what size they're going to be. General costs, general maintenance, how much you're going to have to groom them, that kind of thing. Also, make sure you know what your dog's bred for. This is huge. And again, it comes down to what dogs look like that people are attracted to. Make sure you know what your dog is bred for, because they have like an innate need to perform certain behaviors because we've bred them that way. We've bred them to be good at this, X, Y, and Z job. Therefore, if we don't give them constructive outlets for all of these different behaviors, then it can lead to behavioral issues, and they'll find an outlet somewhere else. It could be your furniture or whatever. If you're going to a breeder, I can't stress this enough. Check, and double check where you get your dogs from and where the breeders are from. Yeah, I was going to bring that up, Gemma, that some breeders don't actually need to be registered. If you have more than 5 litters a year, you have to be registered. But it is just to be aware that those breeders that, advertise on various different websites and, have more than a number of different breeds and are selling them, it just looks a bit dodgy. So it can be a bit of a red flag. I'm kind of more advocating for prevention of looking at puppy farm dogs, because I see the other end of things. I see mothers, ex puppy farm mothers coming in and puppies coming from puppy farms, and it's, that's where I'm going with this. Responsible breeders will be, check if they're health checked. Responsible breeders will be more than happy to show you health records and stuff of their mother and the sire of the pups. Are your pups kind of defleed, wormed, microchipped? It's illegal. Oh, sorry, I don't know why that's on the back. Are they, are they microchipped? It's a legal requirement for pups to be microchipped now. So breeders have to do that before giving you the pup. But also, once you get your pup home, make sure you update the microchip details with your contact information and also your address, so that we can get in contact with you if they're found, but also if you move house or whatever as well. Are the pups seen interacting with their parents? That is a key thing in Lucy's Law as well. Pups must be seen to interact with their parents, and be very vigilant as well, because some puppy farms will show mother and father, where they will they'll have this really perfect mother and father, but they're not seen interacting with their puppies. They're not the actual puppy's parents. So really, really beware of puppy farms, and be aware of where you get the dog from. Just check everything that you possibly can, and a responsible breeder will also ask you questions as well to see if you're fit to look after the dog. And also be aware of scams. Thousands of people have been scammed online for buying puppies and not getting them at the end. It's all a scam. So just be very, very careful where you get the dogs from. Basically, do you want these really, really cute little puppies acting all innocently, but you're not ready for this? So this is, common behavior for pups. They find things, they want to chew things, they want to destroy things. The bottom right picture is the above shepherd as a pup. getting really, really muddy and getting into things. So if you're not ready for mud and dirt and hair and, you know, things getting destroyed, you can have the best management in the world, but things will still happen. So just to make you aware of that, you know, be prepared for that. Training. So we're going to talk different things about training, as you know, lots of the speakers have said before, and the trainers will know that the chances of success is really, really focused on the human. And I don't just mean the owner, I mean like communication between you and the dog trainers and the owner. But in the first instance, making owners aware of dog body language, I think, is huge. So in your puppy classes, in your consults, this is Lily Chin's doggy body language. Is all over the internet. You can, you know, she's happy for you as long as you give reference to her to you know, give these out to owners and stuff. Just something that the owners can see visually and that they can understand the dog body language and see when they're uncomfortable. And it means you as a trainer as well can communicate with each other and be able to figure out things a lot easier and apply modification plans as well. Also, the ladder of aggression, I think, is really, really important to give to owners and to make owners aware of, because a lot of owners unintentionally miss subtle signs of dogs being uncomfortable. And I think it's really, really important that we show this and show how our dogs communicate with us. So as you go up the ladder, you can kind of see different little things that dogs show us: lying down, tail tucked, running away, kind of thing. If these behaviors aren't listened to on a regular basis, then they will skip steps and they'll get to the higher levels. And you know, a lot of people will come to me and say, "Oh, my dog snapped out of nowhere, or my dog bit out of nowhere." It's not that, unless they haven't been listened to already, they won't kind of skip steps and go straight to growling and biting, unless it's a puppy, because they have, you know, needs, puppy needs. If a dog is growling, listen to it. It's not a bad thing necessarily. If a dog is growling, find the root of the problem and find a solution rather than punishing your dog, because if you punish a dog for growling, the chances are they won't show you growling before and they'll just go to the next ring in the ladder, which you know, there's not many more rings other than growling, so they have to escalate their behavior, and you shouldn't have a dog escalating their behavior because of that. More on training, and this is about trainer and trainer methods. As the dog trainers are watching, you'll know that in the UK we don't have to currently, we're not required to have any certifications or qualifications, but it is really, really good to have and to check when you're looking for a trainer, to check for their credentials. This is not an exhaustive list, this is just a couple of ones that I've pulled out and are quite common. You can even go to these websites and find trainers in your area as well. It's not to say that if you don't have any credentials that you're a bad trainer, but do check their methods. Check, you know, keywords like fear-free, reward-based, non-aversive, and be aware, or I should say beware, of quick fixes, because a lot of quick fixes tend to be aversive, and aversive punishment can lead to fallouts and escalation in behavior. Your dog's still feeling the same, but they've been told not to display these behaviors. So it's really, really important that you look out for that. Training the pup, finally. You're thinking, oh God, how do I even train my pup? So this is for owners and dogs. Set them up for success. In the dog training world, we talk about errorless learning. So set them up for success and don't give them opportunities to go wrong. Don't give them opportunities to do the wrong thing. Manage your environment is the main thing in dog training, particularly with destructive behaviors. If you can't monitor them and you can't watch them, then put them in an area where they're not going to chew up things, where they don't have the opportunity to chew up your furniture or your sideboards or whatever. You know, have a little den for them that's all good things, all their toys that they can chew up and things like that. If you prevent them from happening, then they're not gonna do that in the future, you know, because sometimes when dogs do behavior, most of the time when dogs do behaviors, it's reinforcing for them. So if they find something really, really reinforcing that you find undesirable, they're likely to do it again. So if you can prevent that in the first instance, that's the key. And house training from day one. You know, a lot of people are really keen on using puppy pads and things. Personally, I think just start them off in day one, going out in the garden. Take them, especially when people that are working from home now, or you know, there's always someone at home. Take them out every half hour, every hour at first. Don't give them the opportunity to go in the house and make a mess. And reward heavily when they eliminate or go to the loo outside. Because that's what they're going to do. You know, if they get rewarded for finishing their business outside, then they're going to wait. You know, that's going to build up, and they're going to wait until they're allowed to go outside. So that start off with every half hour, and whatever, and then you can build that up, and the time will eventually increase. Um, Obviously, that's not practical for a lot of dog owners, so puppy pads are essential. But just to make you aware, it kind of makes things a lot easier. Reward good behavior and ignore bad or unwanted behavior. I put this in inverted commas because dogs do behaviors for reasons that they understand, but we don't necessarily understand, and they don't understand our world until we teach them other things. So the key one is kind of like jumping up. A dog will jump up to get attention or for physical contact from you, and we'll kind of unintentionally reward that by giving them a fuss when they're jumping up, and to puppies essentially when they're little, and then we get annoyed when they still do it when they're bigger. We need to teach them from the start. So if we ask them for a sit and then we give them an attention when they've sat, that's far better than letting them do it wrong. Sorry, I'll go back to that again. 3Ds as well, and this is key for kind of trainers as well. To talk about in puppy classes, you know, that all of these 3Ds need to be minimalized when you're training, and talk about them in puppy classes, but also give owners the tools and allow them to be able to apply this to real life instances. So they're not going to go from dog puppy classes to go a really, really busy dog park and expect to do the same thing, kind of thing. So set them up for success as well. Training, so cues that I feel are kind of the most important cues to teach dogs, and you know, from the very beginning. A sit or down is kind of a default behavior. Everyone kind of teaches their dog this. I've put a down in because sight hounds, such as like lurchers and greyhounds, may find a sit uncomfortable, and a down is a much easier behavior for them. It's really nice to have like a default or a reset behavior, which what I mean by that is, you know, especially when you're training other behaviors and more difficult behaviors, if you can get a behavior that your dog knows off the bat like that, you can ask them to do that if they're getting frustrated. At least they know that one behavior, and they know they can get a reward for that, and they know they're doing something right. So having one behavior that you can always call upon for them to do is really, really handy. It's also mutually exclusive to jumping up, which means they can't jump up while they are sitting down. Training and off, a really, really handy one, and a really, really important one, I feel, because you know, dog people aren't, or sorry, non-dog people aren't going to be like sit or, you know, go to your bed or whatever. They're going to say off. They're going to ask for an off. Teach your dog what off means. So if a dog's jumping up, just simply scatter some food on the floor, and say off at the same time, and then all four paws are on the floor and their off is done. You know, that's how you train an off. Do that repetitively, and they'll eventually get the cue. Put treats in places where this is a regular occurrence, so at the front door, in the kitchen if you're preparing dinner. Any opportunity that you have to teach this is a good idea, and be ready for that at any point, and also to use as a cue to get them off the furniture. Some people don't like dogs on the furniture, and it's a lot less confrontational than dragging them off the sofa. Please don't do that. It can be uncomfortable for a dog to be dragged off the sofa, and it's not nice for you, and it's not nice for the dog. Having a cue and a lure to get them off the sofa is much better. Loose lead walking. A lot of people wait until, you know, dogs of a certain age to start loose lead walking, but start this as soon as you get your pup. You can't take your dog for a walk as soon as you get them at 8 weeks old because of vaccinations and different things, but it doesn't mean you can't start training. Start lead walking at home where the distractions are minimalized, and you are the most important thing to them. And even start it without a lead. Just reward them when your pup's next to you, and being next to you is a good thing. So you're building that positive association. Training recall. I always say that this is the most easy one in theory to do, but the most difficult one in practice. So be the most exciting thing for your dog. That is kind of the be all and end all, but very, very difficult in theory. You know, your dog sees you day in, day out. Whereas the environment is always exciting and novel and interesting. So they're going to want to explore. So make sure that you do the base training at home before bringing them outside. Um, and don't always use it to end the fun at the end of a walk to call away from dogs that they want to play with. Make sure that you can use it as a reward. So call your dog and let them go back to their dog friends. Call your dog and let them go continue on their walk, and always reward them when they get back to you. Play recall games, play hide and seek, play the orientation game, which is like calling them in random places in the house, and reward them when they get to you. Also, a note on responsible ownership. Don't let your dog off lead if you don't have solid recall and you can recall them from most situations. Obviously, the unexpected always happens, but if you can't recall your dog, use a long line, which is, you can get 5 foot, 10 feet long line, and it just means that you have control over your dog at all times should something unexpected happen and your dog runs away, because you can be your dog is dangerously out of control if you can't recall them from certain situations, and they can cause accidents and cause altercations with other dogs. So just something to be aware. Having a settle on cue is really, really important. Rest is so important for our dogs and so important for us as well. It helps with learning and memory and cognitive ability and everything. So it's so, so important. But also teaching it on cue means that we can bring it anywhere. We can bring it to the pub, we can bring it to the cafes when visitors come over, and also if your pup is overtired and just a little bit ratty. So have a specific settle bed or blanket that you can bring to all these places and get them to settle with. And basically it's just an extension of your down. So increasing the duration of a down and calling it a settle. But really, really important behavior. I'll leave it. Some of the dog trainers here are probably screaming at me saying, no, it's the absence of a behavior, we can't train and leave it. I can understand where that comes from, but a behavior and a cue is only what we teach a dog. A behavior. So sit is a typical sit is, bum on the floor, legs standing up straight. That's a behavior. An act that a dog can do is a behavior. So, and dogs don't understand English. Dogs only understand what we teach them. So I could call a sit tuna and say tuna, and they'll do the behavior. Dogs don't understand English unless we teach it to them. So, and when owners are out and about, they're not going to think about a watch me or things like that when they're out and about and they want to stop their dog from getting somewhere. They'll be like, no, leave it. That is what a dog owner is going to use. So I think it's a really important cue to teach dog owners. Teach it like on eye contact. So teach it without whatever you want the dog to leave first. So dog looks at you, you reward, then build that up to you say leave. When they look at you, say leave it. Build that as a cue, and then as you say leave it, then they'll look at you. Your eye contact is the behavior, and then build in to what you want left, and always make sure that the reward is higher value than what you are asking them to leave. Appropriate socialization, this is a major one, and I think something that owners get really confused about. Everyone thinks that appropriate socialization is being really friendly with every dog and having to meet every other dog, but it's the opposite. Kind of pups need to understand that they can't meet every dog. You don't know what how the other dog will react and what they'll do once your pup gets there. So it's really, really important that your dog learns some impulse control around other dogs. If your dog goes running up to a dog that's on lead or has a muzzle on, you don't know how that other dogs react. They might be anxious, they may be fearful, they may be aggressive. You don't know. They might have medical issues. And the other dog shouldn't have to be put in that situation, made feel like that, and escalate their behavior so that your dog will listen. It's not a nice situation for the other dog. It's not a nice situation for your puppy. It's a negative experience for your pup, and you don't want that. Go to puppy classes, even online ones, and same for dog trainers as well. Have online puppy classes. You build a community then. You build a community with people that are having the same issues and having the same kind of trouble. And it means that once lockdown opens up, that fellow owners can then meet and have puppies of the same age or the same kind of personality that they can meet and go socialize with. If your pup is afraid or anxious, don't force them into situations, and I can't stress that enough. You'll end up creating issues if you do that. Take them out of the situation to a safe distance where they're not worried, and reassure them. Give them pets, give them treats. You're building that positive association to these situations. You can't reinforce fear. That's a big myth that I learned when I was younger, and it's a big myth. You can't reinforce fear. You can make them feel better about a situation. Like I said before, rough and tumble games aren't for everyone. Some dogs have medical issues, and then they'll have a pop at your dog, and you don't want that. And be aware of dog parks and dog friends. Not every dog is sociable. Enrichment. I'm not going to go into major talk about this, but it is really, really important to enrich your dog's life. And I don't just mean taking them for a walk. There's other needs that a dog, other things that a dog needs in their life to be a well-rounded dog. You might see in the top left-hand picture, some people will see, oh God, that's a mess. What have they destroyed? It's actually something that the owner has given them. We call them destruction boxes or terrier boxes. Some some breeds will have an innate need to dissect and to destroy things. So by giving them a constructive outlet for this, it prevents them basically ruining your furniture and tearing up things that they shouldn't be. It will save your furniture. So really, really handy. So what you do is just get like a cardboard box or newspaper, sprinkle some of their breakfast and treats in there. They're using their natural foraging behavior. They're using their nose, tires them out, and they get to destroy something that they're allowed to. Use Kongs, food puzzles, slow feeders, all these kind of things. They use the dog's brain, they tire them out. It's it's really, really enriching for them. And snuffle mats and search games and also licky mats as well are really, really useful because sniffing, licking, and chewing and licking and sniffing are calming behaviors and also like release dopamine, but in a calming and constructive way. So it means you can, and I'll talk about arousal in a little bit, reduce arousal as well. And it's really good for them. And training. Don't forget to train your dog. Prevention. We're going to talk about preventing common issues. Overstimulation. So what is overstimulation for those that don't know? Basically, it's when a dog is exposed to too much stimuli and they get overwhelmed. And when they get overwhelmed, they act out of character and they may do undesirable behaviors. So on the picture on the left, it shows a bell curve that shows tension, arousal, or anxiety matched with, on against performance. So how I like to say this is a little bit of stress is good. So get out of your comfort zone. A little bit of stress is good. Basically, this talk for me. And you get to an optimal arousal and an optimal performance rate. That's a very, very fine line. Be careful with this when you're doing training or when dogs are out and about, because you can slip over that line. And when dogs are too aroused or too stressed, there's a chemical cascade that goes on in their brain. They're not thinking properly, and they're just doing like automatic behaviors, and they can act out irrationally. And this is where trigger stacking comes into it as well. I like to think of it as when, so say for example, I tell owners, if you've had a really stressful day at work and it's, been really busy and you haven't had lunch, and then you come home to the house being a mess, and your sibling or your partner says some snotty comment, all of them little things individually won't bother you. So say if one thing happens per day, it won't bother you. But when they're stacked up on the same day, you lash out and you say things that you don't mean and you act out irrationally. Dogs do the same thing. They go to kind of like a fight, flight, or fool around state where they behave in ways that isn't normal for them. So it's important to reduce that around or keep them below that threshold point. And by doing that, like I mentioned before, snuffle mats, search games. So I mean, like hiding food around the place and scatter feeding. Sniffing is a common behavior. Licky mats is a common behavior. Chewing is a common behavior. So even redirecting them onto toys as well is really, really key. Prevention of separation anxiety, and this is going to be kind of the main thing with lockdown pups, really, is going to be the issue if not dealt with appropriately. So prevention is much better than cure. So last year, Dogs Trust did a study with 6,000 owners, and they showed that there was a 54% rise in the number of people saying that their dog had hidden or moved away from them. during lockdown, and a 41 increase in reports in saying dogs were being clingy or following people around the house. So this is for dogs that are used to not being, for their owners not being around. They're, you're disrupting their routine and potentially their rest routine. So they're a bit aggy, or they're a bit, you're disrupting them. That's dogs that have been used to being left alone, but there's going to be a whole other issue on the other end of the scale, where if your pup hasn't been left alone, then they're going to have a shock to the system. So prevent separation anxiety where you can. So don't let them follow you everywhere. Teach them independence. So set up baby gates or visible barriers to stop them following you around. This means they can still see, hear, and smell you. They know you're still there, but they're not following you around. And make sure that you give them good things. So scatter treats on the floor, give them a little bit of a chew while you're gone. Build up micro absences. So 10 to 30 seconds. Now is the time to prevent separation anxiety, because things in the UK at least are hopefully going to get better, and we're going to go back to normal in June. So we have what, 3 months? 3 months to get used to things. So now is the time to build up that time of being left alone for a couple of hours a day, and leave them with something good when you leave them for that 10, 30 seconds. So a chew or a Kong or whatever. Set up fun areas away from you, especially if you're working from home and you have like your workspace. Set up another room as like a visual sensory enrichment space for your dog. Hide some treats, put a licky mat down, put a snuffle mat down. It encourages natural foraging behavior and exploratory behavior, but it also builds confidence. Creating a safe exploratory place to carry out these behaviors will build confidence in your dog. Desensitize them to leaving cues. So think about all the things you do before you leave the house. You put your shoes on, you pick up your keys, you pick up your bag. And these are all cues to your dog that you're leaving. So to desensitize them to it, do these things randomly throughout the day, but don't leave the house. Put on your shoes and take them off again. Pick up your keys and put them down again. That kind of thing, so that it's not a sign of you leaving. And also crate and den training. So this is like the area that you potentially want to leave them in for whenever you go to work. So a managed environment so that they can't be destructive in the home. And I don't just mean shoving a dog in a crate for for 4 or 5 hours on their own straight away. Build them up to it. Scatter some treats in there with the door open, and they can find them throughout the day. Then something that lasts a bit longer, like a chew or a Kong, and they have to spend a bit longer in there, but keep the door open, and then gradually increase the time that the door is closed essentially, and build up that time, and make sure that the crate is a nice space. It's not a punishment space. And also on separation anxiety, destructive behavior in general tends to be a behavior that people say is separation anxiety. Owners have like the key problem or the unknown mistake of taking their dog out for 20 minutes and having a ball thrower, chucking a ball, having a really intense play time with them, because they're trying to tire them out. It's not, it's not ill thought. They're trying to tire them out before they're left for the day. But if you think you're doing a really, really high intensity thing, you're going to be full of adrenaline, you're going to be full of dopamine, and basically the dog's high at this point whenever you're doing all these high intensity things. And when you get them home, they're still on that kind of adrenaline high. So they're going to want to release all of this energy, and that's when they tend to destroy your furniture. So it's way more important that you take them on kind of not even a long walk, but like a 30-minute walk before you're leaving them alone, so that they have reduced that arousal and they're not like super high. Preventing resource guarding. So this is a big one that dogs come in to rescue for. And it can be really dangerous really quickly, especially if there's kids involved. Exchange everything with your dog, and play exchange games. So when you're playing with a toy, exchange it with another toy and play with that one, and exchange it with another toy. When you're exchanging, when the dog drops the item from their mouth, say drop, and they'll eventually associate the word drop with the behavior, which is the drop. Don't confront dogs with stolen items, or don't forcibly remove items from dogs' mouths. When they steal items and you make a big fuss about it, the more fuss you make about it, then the higher value the dog associates with that. So if it's safe, let the dog have it, and make a big fuss about a toy that you want to play with and make a big deal about that, and they'll realize that the stolen thing isn't worth their time and this is way more important. And if you have to remove something, just make sure you're, rewarding them afterwards so that it's not a big deal. Let a dog eat in peace. I can't say this often enough. People are kind of obsessed with needing to remove a dog bowl when the dog's eaten and establishing dominance and all of these myths that is, they're debunked now. It's not scientific fact. It actually creates issues rather than making the dog more compliant. Let a dog eat. If you want your dog to be comfortable eating around you or in the same areas that you kind of walk around, do food bowl exercises. Do have an empty bowl on the floor and approach the bowl and throw some of their breakfast in there. Walk away, approach the bowl, throw some of their breakfast in there. Let them eat it. Don't ever remove the bowl. This gives a positive association to you approaching the bowl, and you approaching the bowl is a good thing, and you being around the bowl is a good thing, and the only time they get food is when you're around. So that's a really, really good way to prevent them. Another way is, once you've done that, is when they're eating, just walk past them, don't touch them, don't interact with them, just walk past them and throw like a bit of chicken or hot dog or something really high value for them, so that you approaching and being around them while they're eating predicts better things. And for resource garden furniture and stuff, teaching and off, like we said before, and also potentially rearranging furniture. Your dog might be guarding that particular area because they want to be there, they want to be under the window, or they want to be by the heater or whatever, but putting a dog bed there might prevent that resource garden. But if your dog is already resource garden, seek professional help, because like I said, it can cause damage really, really quickly. And you don't want, especially if kids are around, you don't want that becoming a big issue. Puppy development stages. So we're going to quickly run through this, and I'm going to talk from when the owners get dogs home. A lot of learning and socialization happens before you get the dog home. We're going to kind of talk about key times when you get the dog. So you have a socialization period between 3 and 12 weeks. So a lot of that will be done at the breeder, which is another reason why you should go to a responsible breeder. They will set your dog up for success from the 3 to 8 weeks that they have them. They have a sensitive period between 8 and 11 weeks, and what this means is they're really sensitive to the environment around them and to triggers around them. So it's really important during these 8 to 11 weeks that they have as many positive experiences as possible. They will think of it as a bank account. So the more positive experiences a dog has, is the more deposits that you have in your bank account, and the bigger bank balance you'll have. And then withdrawals or negative experiences won't make as big a difference on that bank account with the more positive experiences you have. They form attachments with their owners and other animals. And even though you can't walk your dog outside, exposing them to certain things, so carry them around, get a little papoose, get a little doggy bag, and condition them to it so that it's a nice fun place and they're comfortable in these little papooses and stuff. Introduce them to new sights, new people, new animals, new smells, new dogs, but safely. You can't walk them because they're not vaccinated properly, so exposing them to that in a safe way is really, really important during these weeks for a well-rounded dog. Juvenile, so from 4 to 6 months. Just because the last period was called the socialization period does not mean that you stop socializing them. Continue positive socialization in these months. This can be a really tricky phase for a lot of owners because it's the teething phase. Teething happens from 12 to 18 weeks. And if anyone has had any trouble with their wisdom teeth, they know how much teething hurts. So puppies need to chew on things to relieve pain during this phase. So we need to manage the environment and give them constructive outlets to chew on things. So provide teething rings, frozen cucumbers and carrots, or like anything that's non-toxic to dogs and they can eat. Frozen wet tea towels, age-specific chews, that kind of thing is really, really important. And also you'll probably be going to puppy classes during this point as well. And it's really, really good to go to puppy classes at this point. and learn as much as you can about your dog, and meet other owners, and just get a really good setup for later in life. And adolescence, which can last from 6 months to 3 years. And no, that's not a typo, unfortunately. Depending on the breed of dog you get, if you get a giant breed, adolescence can last up to 3 years. And I think that's really, really important, particularly when you're thinking about getting a specific breed, think about if you're prepared for adolescence up to 3 years. It can be another really difficult time for owners because they've went to puppy classes. Your dog's got the gold star or the gold certificate for doing really well for graduating from puppy classes, and you're let loose in the world. But hormones affect, they control their behavior essentially. Hormones adjust receptors and affect receptors in the prefrontal cortex of a dog's brain and in human brains as well. um this this part of the brain is important in learning and learning, memory and cognitive thought. So basically they're not thinking properly, they're not thinking about what you've taught them before, and training can regress. Hormones also upset their regular stress responses, so their fight or flight responses. So it can mean that they go through a second sensitive period from 6 to 14 months as well. So they can be, might be afraid of things that they weren't before and things like that. So it's really, really important to keep having positive experiences just this time. And yeah, recalling is a major one to keep doing during these times, because they're dictated more by their hormones. And also neutering, it's a huge topic and I'm not going to go majorly into it, but if you're considering neutering, it's probably around this time as well. Hart et al. Did 2 studies last year on medical issues with regards to early neutering. And it's very breed specific, so allow your dog to fully develop physically before you think about neutering, particularly them giant breeds. Also, behaviorally as well, there's been lots of studies that have correlated between neutered males and aggression and medical issues, or medical behavioral issues. So it's something to think about. Consult both your vet and your behaviorist when you're thinking about neutering, because it's a really, really balance up between that. And if you're thinking of not neutering, which is fair as well, please be a responsible owner. And I work in rescue and see all the unwanted litters, but even unwanted litters can end up as bait dogs. They can end up in all these different horrible situations. So if you're going to not neuter your dog, be responsible about it, and don't kind of fuel that trade, just to make you aware as well. That's kind of the basis of my talk. For any of the owners that want more information, check out some puppy books. These are just a handful of ones from dog trainers that I've learned from. Victoria Stillwell, it was kind of how I got into dog training, and I watched It's Me or the Dog for years. Also check out Rescue's website. There's a lot of information and a lot of advice on Rescue websites. Some have YouTube channels, some have puppy classes as well, and a lot kind of give behavioral advice as well, and also the BVA website as well, because that can help with medical issues that you're struggling with. And there's all my references that you might be interested in, and they're there if you need them. On a final note, before I switch off, be kind to your dog. Be, as cheesy as it sounds, be the owner that your dog thinks that you are. Be their comfort blanket and be there to reassure them if they need it. Be kind to dog trainers and dog professionals, so vets, groomers, whatever. They're there for the best interest of your dog. So be kind to them. They're giving you advice for reasons, and they're asking you to do things for reasons for your dog. So be kind to them. Be kind to other dog owners as well. It goes again, like with that responsible ownership thing that I said before. Not every dog is sociable and friendly and outgoing. They may be nervous and anxious, so be responsible and don't let your dog charge up to dogs on lead and with muzzles and whatever. And with yellow leads as well, they might say that they're nervous. Be prepared, be prepared for any eventuality. Get pet insurance for medical issues. Be prepared that you know, some things might be destroyed whenever you get a dog. Your life will probably completely change, and be prepared for that as well. And be patient. Be patient. Dog training takes time, and having a well-rounded dog takes time. So please be patient and be wary of quick fixes. Quick fixes in dog training don't really happen. Training takes time for your dog to be comfortable in all these situations. So please be patient. And yeah, that concludes my talk. So thank you all very much for listening. I'm going to check through the comments and make sure I haven't missed anything. But this is just a nice little fun video of my boyfriend's friend's dog, who is a Wolfhound Shepherd cross, playing a little Gaelic football. So just to end your little Saturday with that.